Chapter 1. The Ember Marked. The town of Emberdeep crouched like a scar across the edge of the ashen cliffs, a place forgotten by kings and untouched by magic. At least, that's what the elders like to say. Smoke curled from the chimneys of black stone cottages, and soot hung in the air like an old curse. Here, life was measured by the weight of a pickaxe in the depth of the mine veins. Cain was 17 when the tremor struck. He had just finished loading the last of the day's ore onto the back of a creaking wagon when the ground began to shudder. The mountains groaned like something ancient waking from a long sleep. He dropped the harness and looked toward the quarry. A light flared, sharp and pulsing, just beyond the cliff's edge. "Earthquake?" his friend Joran shouted, stumbling out of the smithy. Cain didn't answer. The light called to him in a way he didn't understand. His feet moved before his mind caught up. The cliffside had split open like a wound, revealing a smooth obsidian chamber hidden beneath layers of ash and time. In the center, a stone monolith pulsed with emberlight. It was warm, not just to the touch, but deep in his bones, like it knew him. He reached out. The moment his fingers brushed the stone, it flared, and pain, no, power, seared through his arm. A spiral of glowing orange unfurled across his skin, burning through shirt and flesh alike. Cain fell to his knees, gasping. When the light faded, the mark remained. By nightfall, word had spread. "He's cursed," they cried. "Marked by fire." The elders met under the flame brazier in the center of town. Old Mathan, the high voice of the council, pronounced exile. "Magic brought ruin before," he said, his voice shaking with fear. "It will do so again. The boy must leave, now." Cain stood alone as torches glared around him. His arms were bound in cloth, and his eyes burned, not from the mark, but from tears he wouldn't let fall. He looked to the sky, to the stars that had watched Emberdeep sleep for centuries. "If fire has chosen me," he whispered, "then I will not waste it." He turned from the only home he had ever known, the spiral on his skin faintly glowing. And somewhere, deep beneath the sands, something ancient stirred. Chapter 2. The Whispering Flame. The wilderness beyond Emberdeep was not meant for the unprepared. The skies hung low and red, bleeding into the horizon like a wound that never healed. Cain stumbled through broken terrain, his arm wrapped in torn cloth, the ember mark beneath it pulsing faintly with heat. Hunger gnawed at his stomach, but the fire in his veins refused to let him fall. On the fourth night, the dreams began. He saw a woman cloaked in flame, her eyes glowing like coals beneath a shifting veil of heat. She stood in a hall of mirrored light, her voice echoing through his bones like a song long forgotten. "Cain Alareth, heir to the flame, awaken me." He woke gasping, ash sticking to his skin. The mark on his arm burned brighter. By dawn, the wind changed. It no longer whispered aimlessly. It called. He followed. The trail led to the bones of a city swallowed by the desert. Black stone columns jutted from the sand like broken fingers, and shattered windows stared skyward with lifeless eyes. At the center lay a crater, its heart pulsing with emberlight. Cain descended. The ruins were older than the histories he had memorized in childhood. Sigils curved across scorched stone. At the center of the crater stood a ring of flame, hollow and constant, undying. He stepped into it. The world shifted. From the fire, a figure emerged. Not quite woman, not quite spirit. She was shaped of smoke and flame, flickering at the edges like a dream refusing to fade. "I am Lysira," she said, her voice both wind and fire. "I have waited for your line to return. You are late." Cain took a shaky step back. What are you?" "I am bound to the Ember line," she said. "Your blood woke me. Long ago, your kind forged the Ember blade and protected the realms. But when the flame bearers fell, I was sealed away. Now I am free because of you." He frowned. "I'm no warrior. I was a miner until this mark ruined my life." "The mark did not ruin you," she said softly. "It revealed you." Before he could respond, the flames surrounding the crater flared outward. Dark shapes rose from the sand, shadow beasts of ice and smoke, eyes flickering blue, mouths open in silent howls. "The Frost Guard," Lysira hissed. "They felt the ember flare." Cain backed away. I can't fight them." "You must." Lysira reached toward him. Fire surged from her fingertips and wrapped around his wrist. The ember mark flared to life. Instinct took over. Cain raised his hand. Flame leapt from his palm like a living thing, lashing at the nearest beast. It howled and disintegrated, ashes blowing into the wind. The others charged. Cain moved like he had never moved before, his body guided by the heat in his blood, his mind clear with singular purpose. Flame danced around him, fierce and brilliant. Lysira fought beside him, blades of fire slicing through the dark. When the last beast fell, Cain collapsed, panting. Lysira knelt beside him. "You are more than you believe, but you have much to learn." Cain looked at the scorched battlefield, then to her. "Teach me." She smiled. "Then come, the ember blade awaits." And together they vanished into the smoke. Chapter 3. The Frostguard snow fell in the Deadlands north of the Ember line, gray flakes that did not melt, born not from cloud, but from magic. Here, where the wind was sharp and unnatural silence clung to the trees, the Frostguard made their camps. Malric stood atop a jagged rise, his armor a fusion of bone and glacial steel, his eyes glinting like twin shards of blue fire. Where once he had walked among the flame-bearers as a brother, now he walked beside their memory as a weapon. A scout knelt before him. "The ember mark has awakened," the scout rasped. "A bearer walks again." The desert flared with old fire. Malric's voice was low. "A name? Cain. No other is known." Malric turned toward the northern horizon. "Cain Alareth. I should have burned his cradle when I had the chance." Cain didn't know how far they had traveled, only that the wastes had given way to the edge of a forest charred from old wars. Lysira moved with caution now, her form more solid with each passing day as her connection to the Ember line deepened. "You're improving," she said, as Cain practiced fire channels beneath the moonlight. "The flame no longer lashes. It listens." Cain wiped sweat from his brow. "Good, because I don't think we're alone out here." They weren't. On the 5th night, they were ambushed. The cold struck first, not in wind, but in silence. The air stopped moving. Trees no longer creaked. Even the embers of their fire died without smoke. Then they came. Frostguard. Cloaked in silence, they moved like phantoms, armor carved from ice, weapons pulsing with veil magic. Their leader bore Malric's sigil, a frozen crown etched into her breastplate. Cain had only seconds. He called the ember blade to his hand, the fire singing through him as it formed. Lysira shouted, raising a shield of flame to deflect the first strike. The clearing became a war zone. Cain's fire met their frost with thunderous force. Every clash sizzled and sparked. The Frostguard adapted quickly, weaving veil ice into shields that resisted ordinary flame. But Cain's flame wasn't ordinary. It was born from memory, fueled by purpose. He moved like a storm. One Frostguard fell, then another. But their commander was different, faster, more vicious. Cain met her head-on. Their blades crashed in a cascade of heat and frost. their footwork a blur across frozen ground. She hissed, "The Harbinger watches, boy." "You delay nothing," Cain roared. "Then I'll make him watch me win." He drove her back with a surge of power, then sent a focused burst of flame through her guard. Her body exploded into ice shards. The remaining frost guard retreated into the shadows. Silence returned. Cain fell to one knee, panting. Lysira placed a hand on his shoulder. "You held your own." "I'm still breathing," Cain muttered. "Barely." She smiled faintly. "Then we keep going." He looked at the path ahead. "Where?" "To the east," she said. "There's a vault buried beneath the sand. If the blade is waking, the vault might awaken too." Cain rose, the ember blade humming faintly. "They'll come for us again." "Yes," she said, "and you'll burn brighter each time they do." Chapter 4. The Vault Beneath the Cistern. The sun was a haze above the eastern horizon, a dull ember suspended in smoke. Cain and Lysira walked for 2 days through the craggy plains of Caldrith's Bones, a region of shattered mesas and collapsed ruins buried by centuries of ash. Each step drew them closer to the source of Lysira's pull. The vault, she claimed, would awaken something deep inside him. They arrived at the ruins of a once great cistern, now a sunken crater of cracked stone and black vines. Obsidian roots curled from beneath the earth, like claws gripping the surface. At the crater's center, half buried beneath rubble and heatstone, was a sealed door veined with gold and scorched metal. "This is it," Lysira said. "The Vault of Envar, forged to protect the Emberblade when the last of the flamebearers fell." Cain stared at the door. His ember mark tingled. The blade on his back pulsed. "Can I open it?" Lysira gave him a solemn look. "Only if the flame remembers you." He stepped forward. As his palm touched the ancient sigil at the vault's center, fire coursed from his mark and into the stone. Runes flared to life in molten orange, and the vault groaned like a slumbering giant disturbed from rest. The door split down the middle, heat washing over them in waves. Inside, darkness swirled with the smell of ash and copper. The ceiling was high and arched, carved with runes older than language. Torches lit of their own accord, illuminating a wide chamber with a single pedestal at its center. Floating above the pedestal, untouched by time, was the ember blade. It turned slowly in the air, wrapped in flame that cast no shadows. Cain stepped forward, heart pounding. Visions hit him like a hammer, a city aflame, a throne room crumbling, his father, cloaked in fire, facing Malric as the world cracked open. He saw his infant self, wrapped in red silk, carried through a hidden passage, and laid inside a crystal cocoon lined with emberlight. He gasped, knees buckling. "I remember," he whispered. Lysira was at his side. "Then take what's yours." Cain reached for the blade. The moment his fingers closed around its hilt, fire erupted outward, a shockwave of light and memory that shattered the silence. The blade burned in his grip, yet did not sear him. It welcomed him. The vault shook. From the upper alcoves, stone cracked and gave way as ice-born shadows began to slither down the walls. The frost guard had arrived. "They followed us," Lysira hissed, drawing her daggers. Cain turned, ember blade in hand. He was no longer afraid. The frost guard surged. Cain met them head on. Every motion of the ember blade carved light through darkness. He moved with instinct. Every strike matched to the vault's rhythm. Flames clung to him like armor, bending with his motion. Lysira danced around him, striking from the flanks, her daggers forming ribbons of fire. Together, they held the line. When the last shadow melted into smoke, the chamber quieted. Cain stood in the center of the vault, the ember blade humming, his body still glowing from the fire he had awakened. Lysira walked to his side, her voice steady. The weapon has chosen you. Now we need to find those who still remember the flame-bearers. Cain looked toward the east. Where do we go? Skyborn Keep, she said. If any still hold to the old ways, it will be them. Cain nodded, and together they stepped into the rising light of dawn, the ember blade igniting their path forward.